Good evening, mesdames et messieurs. Welcome to Restaurant Prétentieux. We have a number of specials this evening, if you'd like me to tell them to you. To start, we have long shots of a man with his mouth open, eating what appears to be potatoes, but your guess is as good as mine. We follow that up with a dish we call that feeling when you want to look away in horror, but my God, you just can't take your eyes off the screen. Our main course this evening is an in-depth discussion of experimental theatre practices of the 60s and 70s, and that is served with buried disappointment that your alternate philosophies only brought you to the point where you toil day in and out to exist within the very system you thought you were bringing down. And if Monsieur would like to give us a diamond engagement ring to drop in the champagne, we offer an excruciatingly painful proposal scene that makes no sense and advances the plot not at all. Oh, I see. You'd rather go to the McDonald's next door? Oh, yes, many of our patrons make the same choice. Au revoir! We watched My Dinner with Andre and Dinner for Schmucks.
Ah, the French champagne.
Champagne!
The schlocky movie from this week may be the schlockiest film we've ever seen on this podcast.
I'm Mr. Pink.
Sis Blue.
So Miranda hasn't seen Reservoir Dogs.
Those men's children are all identical clones of Adolf Hitler.
Once they were men, now they are land crabs.
Amanda Bynes is a national treasure.
There's like a bunch of other shit that happens in Driven.
Is there?
Secret Nazis.
Yeah.
Secret Nazis.
Big Daddy lost his eagle.
I hope
So-
no one from my family listens to this podcast.
The Citizen Kane of the week is...
Hey, welcome back. Here we are with another episode of Citizen Kane Versus. If you're new to the pod, how this works is that we have taken two movies, one of which would debatably be considered a classic, and the other one would hopefully be considered more of a schlocky piece of film. They're linked by some sort of link, like a word in the title or a theme or an actor or whatever we think is funny enough to pair them, and we decide which one is truly better. My name is Jack Rennie, and I'm joined by my two friends, as usual. The one,
Wallace Shawn Jacqueline.
Wallace Shawn Jacqueline,
Oh,
and the
it's so
other,
good.
Yeah.
Fucking Daniel Benoit.
DeAndre.
Shit. Yeah, DeAndre Benoit.
There it is. And we have, as Sean noted before the pod, our first
Non-partner.
non-partner in-person
Live
guest,
guest, yeah.
and old pal, Mike Ruderman. Hi, Mike.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me be the schmuck to this dinner cast.
Yeah, does it feel suspicious that we invite you and it's...
Does a little bit. There's champagne.
We do have bubbly this week.
You're either going to change my life with
Yeah.
beautiful conversation, or you're going to... Oh, God, I don't know.
It's the new Tournament of Losers, and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
here for a special reason.
We
Yeah.
were like pitching, like, guys, we do a funny like meta episode where we watch Dinner for Schmucks, and we also invite a really fucking dumbass guest on.
Thanks for having me.
You know, like our postmaster's buddy, Mike Ruderman. I don't know where you're at now. You have a master's yet?
Yeah, I'm doing my PhD, so I got my master's.
You're a master.
I'm a master. Yeah.
So Dinner for Masters.
Dinner for Masters.
What are you a master of?
Of historical, theoretical, and critical psychology.
Oh, perfect for these movies.
Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can you please explain everything
Yeah,
that happened?
all of that.
It's research psychology. So, yeah, but with sort of a critical perspective. So looking at sort of systems of inequality and how psychology can be improved to better address those, systems of inequality. So,
Nice.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you better. Well, yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Better become a doctor then. Don't slow down. No slacking in that.
I'm trying.
So, if you haven't already caught on a bit from our subtle references and the title of the episode that you clicked on to make this play, just some of the hints you might have gotten. The pairing. This was. I mean, I think Sean, you had wondered about this, and you asked Mike about suggestions, and Mike also had this on your list, right? Which is why it seemed like a good pairing.
Yeah, I'd actually thought these up like a year ago or so, and then when I asked you when it was on your list, I was like, oh shit, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no.
amazing.
So some of them like really feel good because they have some themes and the titles are similar, and you go, yeah, that feels right. So it was My Dinner with Andre versus Dinner for Schmucks.
Mm-hmm. And I'll point out in other material he pronounces his name Andre.
Oh, Andre.
Andre.
And Schmuck.
Yeah.
That's not how you say Andre. Andre.
So it's dinner for Andre?
My dinner with Andre.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Not dinner
no,
for Andre.
My dinner with Andre just flows better. So
Right.
we'll
My
stick
dinner
with
with Andre.
My dinner with Andre.
My donaire with Andre.
my donaire with Andre. He's
My
in
dinner.
Charlottetown.
Great.
Andre.
Meet Andre. Great.
So Andre is also his name in real life. These are two
Yeah.
real people playing fictionalized versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like every movie should be.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can agree.
Just a conversation at a table. We should be filming this conversation and releasing it in IMAX.
I've been playing a character named Jack Rennie for
Yeah.
years now. Also my name, but also I've been playing a character, which is a conversation that comes up in my donaire with Andreas. So these movies are like this was an interesting viewing experience. This episode, it was like fascinating. I actually found both movies fascinating in different ways. There's something like almost high concept about both in the end somehow, which is a very strange thing to say.
That is never a way you should describe Dinner for Schmucks.
And-
high concept?
We'll get into this. It's hard not to believe that movie was maybe made as some sort of like antagonistic, like meta statement
Like
about
a fight me film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think its goal was to make me angry, and I was so emotional watching this movie.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I
Outside
was
of
moved.
The title. Did you? Were there other themes you wanted to explore in your pairing here?
I hadn't seen Dinner for Schmucks, and in fact, I thought there was a dinner in it. There was like 2 minutes of a dinner, which was sort of blew the pairing a little bit. But no, there wasn't really any other themes I had in mind. I mean, yeah, it felt like kind of deeply hypocritical. Dinner for Schmucks, where it was like, the moral is we shouldn't laugh at people, right? Who might have mental challenges, or who might, and then throughout the only humor throughout the whole thing is laughing at people saying they're crazy women who are trying to stalk you and ruin your life for their mentally challenged
This
friends
lady thinks
who-
she can talk with animal ghosts,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was rough.
and
I
like we're
can see-
clearly supposed to laugh at them too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that certainly did make me angry, if that was its goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Like I had more of an emotional response to this movie than I've had to like a lot of movies that I've seen lately.
It's interesting that the least offensive of the two movies is the one with two white boomers sitting in a fancy restaurant.
Going, you know what's wrong with the world today?
Yeah.
Yeah? And the other one goes, I like my apartment.
Yeah.
So these, I don't know. There's something interesting about there's things to be discussed here. Dan had a great time.
No comment.
This was also we haven't done some good like hurtin' movies in a while. Like
Curtain movies?
Yeah, where like watching them like hurts a bit.
Right.
Where sometimes like on the podcast, Mike, we'll get like a good classic movie and like a kind of good piece of schlock, and it's like they're both fun to watch, and it's about which one is really better. And then sometimes we have a movie, and this pairing isn't quite that. This is going to be a weird one, but sometimes it's like a really old, kitschy classic, but still arguably a classic, versus something that's like a modern kind of schlocky thing, and then it's more like which one sucks less.
But okay, so
But this isn't that. It's
no, like this. this is partially that.
yeah, for Dan.
Yeah, the first one, My Dinner with Andre, felt a lot like I was watching like a thesis on film.
Yes.
Or like I was watching a fucking staged debate. Yeah. So like less like a
From
movie.
one person. It's not even like a back and forth for most of
It
it.
was like no, there's a back and forth. There's Andre talking for an hour, and then Wallace Shawn being like, and then what happened?
Yeah, that's a debate.
It definitely is encouraging you to write your college essay.
100%,
there are 10
100%.
college essays you could write on that.
Yeah.
How classic of a movie is My Dinner with Andre? Like, did it win awards?
One of
Is
the
it-
highest regarded films of all time.
according to
The world.
Which I
Snobs.
support as a snob.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
And in fact, I
Yeah.
think it's on my list of favorite movies after watching it a few times.
Yeah.
the last
how
couple weeks.
is that possible?
Well, we'll get into it, I guess.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
But this was definitely one of the best weeks that we've maybe had ever in terms of looking around the room while watching this.
yes.
And
The collective viewing experience was really, really great.
It was
this week.
rich.
we were like
Yeah.
dosing Dan with coffee throughout my dinner with Andre
Just to keep him awake.
just to keep
Yeah.
him going.
It was hard, man.
And then Miranda was here watching them too, and just like during dinner for Schmucks or whatever, like just looking around sometimes and seeing like your people's faces, just like the consternation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really disappointing because I felt like, I mean, I haven't seen Dinner for Schmucks in a really long time, and I remember it being just like a dumpster fire start to finish.
Yeah.
But the first 45 minutes or so of that movie, not bad.
Like
Not
20 minutes.
No, there was laughter coming from everybody in the room.
Yeah. First 20
Until
minutes.
no, wait, whatever it is. The
I
movie
know what you're
showed promise.
and it had bits of promise throughout.
I would say
Until the
I would
last
say
act.
the last act.
The
it was
last
a
act is
pretty
without
steep
hope.
decline.
Yes.
But yeah, well, I would say like midway through the movie, it really takes a huge jump on everything. But
Yeah.
it starts off feeling like it might be like a decent, fun movie.
It does. And it has like some of the trappings of like, oh, this might is it I was wondering watching the beginning. I was like, is it better than I remember?
Yeah,
And I
And, like,
like
in a lot of
started
ways it
to
is.
doubt myself.
It's got a great cast, amazing cast.
An
Amazing
Octavia
cast.
Spencer.
Yes.
But-
Nick
So
Kroll.
Dowd. Yeah, Nick Kroll in one scene. I mean, Nick Kroll, I guess, hadn't even done the Kroll show at this point, had he?
No.
Yeah.
this was when he was still coming up. I think.
Still a wee baby.
a wee baby.
Yeah, and it had what's her face also from Mad TV who I mentioned, Alex Borstein.
Alex Borstein. Yeah, in
Oh,
that
yeah.
one scene.
In one scene, non-speaking role,
Yeah.
Alex Borstein, who is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Wow.
So, well, why don't I use this moment
Yeah.
to cut into our little fighter intros so you can get a better impression about these two films.
In the red corner, representing the classics. After a brief trip to a restaurant, Wallace Shawn, as himself, has dinner with Andre Gregory, as himself. And Andre tells Wallace about a soul-changing experience in Poland, and India, and the Sahara, and then talks, and talks, and talks. But what talks? Quotable. Put it on your Facebook. Thought-provoking. Then Wallace Shawn goes home. Coming in at 110 minutes, starring Wallace Shawn and Andre Gregory, My Dinner with Andre. And in the blue corner, representing the schlock. Oi. So, technically, this movie is about a shitty group of businessmen who each bring an idiot to a fancy dinner every month, and then it's supposed to be a sort of moral story about how business guy lead is shitty to the idiot he finds, and that causes his life to fall apart because of karma or something. But this dumb guy is also just relentlessly and irredeemably destructive to everything he touches, and you don't feel bad for him, and it's just a mess. They're coming in at 114 minutes, starring Paul Rudd, Steve Carell, and Octavia Spencer. Wait, Octavia Spencer's in this? And Alex Borstein? She's great. She doesn't say anything? Only groped by Zach Galifianakis? The Two Ferns guy? What? Dinner for Schmucks.
And there you have it. Now you know just more than you knew. You know, a voice said some lines.
I actually have a newfound appreciation for both these films after the summaries. Thank you, Jack.
Well, I try and add just like a bit of flavor. Like I try and bring about like a visceral feeling to what watching the movies was like. So
Yeah, I puked.
yeah. Thank you, Sean.
Funny story. I almost puked this morning randomly, just from chugging a bottle of water with some protein mix in it.
Yeah. Were you invited to a dinner shortly after?
I was actually surprisingly.
Have fun with that.
Thanks. I will.
A bottle of water with some protein mix in it. So sorry,
It was a protein shake. It was a protein shake.
It was a protein shake.
Yeah.
Okay.
but I do it every morning. I came from the gym. I filled my bottle of water with creatine and protein and a greens mix. Same routine every morning. And today,
Epicac?
what's that?
And Epicac?
No,
No?
I left it out today.
Okay.
And even still, I almost
good?
like I had to like deep breathe through. You know that like wet like saliva
Sure,
in
yeah.
the back of the throat feeling right before you barf.
The only podcast that goes through the barfing experience, beat by beat.
I'm trying to paint a picture. I'm
You're an artist.
I'm a storyteller,
yeah,
Sean.
Yeah.
Who's the real schmuck?
I thought that was a good segue into story, actually.
Well, all right, if you're hosting now. Yeah, let's
Missed
jump in.
opportunity.
Yeah, I'm
Let's
just saying.
let's talk story. So let's start looking at these two. This is gonna be fucking so weird. I already I'm pre-seeing some of the things that I think I'm gonna say, and it's already upsetting me.
Yeah.
About these two movies, and so let's start that experience.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hit the little timer thing. So let's begin with our first round, which is story. Good.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like kind of no for either of them.
I'm curious to hear, Mike. You're our guest.
Yeah.
Give us your experience with the story of both of these films.
I'll say, so I know My Dinner with Andre, there's sort of not a story, or the story is so bare bones that, a sort of neurotic, unhappy playwright goes to dinner and then gets transformed through conversation and leaves it sort of seeing life in a new way. I will say that the bare bonesness of that story seems to sort of serve a function in like snapping an audience out of its comfort zone. Like you go to a movie and you go to a movie and you expect explosions or a lot of things happening, and you go to this movie and you don't get it. And you have to sort of zero in on sort of more fine-grained things that are happening, like in the conversation and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I can see how maybe that serves the function the movie is trying to accomplish, whereas Dinner for Schmucks, the story is just total mess all over the place. The beats are bizarre. It doesn't make sense from one moment to another. And like I was saying before, it feels sort of hypocritical. So I do have to, I don't know.
There's so much story in Dinner for Schmucks that they can't afford to explain lots of it. They just throw it at you and hope you pick it up and run with it. And you don't, because you don't care about these people.
Because they have a character who at the beginning seems to just kind of be simple and transforms around the
it's
2/3 mark into like a wily like a Bugs Bunny-esque like Animaniacs creature of chaos.
Well,
so they can do whatever they want.
He's not simple. Miranda said it, but he's neurodivergent. He's supposed to be somewhere on the autism scale.
I'm trying to speak in a
and as Mike says, it ridicules him constantly for just not being understood by the people he's interacting with.
And a blind fencer.
Played by we'll get into that in acting. Daniel, your experience with My Dinner with Andre.
Yeah, take us through the story.
Take us through
from
it, Daniel.
Dan's perspective.
The stories?
Yeah.
From My Dinner with Andre?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you half of them. I know that he
No, just like
got
from these
buried
two films.
alive.
He did.
That's all I got. No, I was disappointed with My Dinner with Andre because I knew what it was going in. I knew the structure of it, and I'm usually a sucker for that sort of thing. I love watching debates. I love listening to long form like interview podcasts, like just stimulating conversation. I'm down for. My main gripe with the story of My Dinner with Andre is the fact that it is less of a story and more of an idea. Like it felt like I was watching a director like pushing some kind of agenda on me.
It's very much like the manifesto for the
right
for the poor theater, the Grotowski style theater that Andre what's his last name?
Gregory.
That Andre Gregory.
Andre.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Grigori.
Andre Grigori was doing in New York at the time.
Yeah, and that's fine. I feel like I watched the Andre character make the same point 17 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that was my main issue, is that it wasn't an evolving conversation that grew increasingly more interesting. It was like you get to the midway mark, we understand what he's saying and what all of his new life experiences have kind of showed him about reality, and then you just hear it over and over again
And
for
it's
another
like,
45 minutes.
To me, like, I like the conversations that some of them that come up in this, and conversations being really loose. It's mostly a lecture. I like some of the lectures in this movie. Truly, I mean that unironically, but I am going to use those words. But like, they are so also hypocritical because, like you'd say about Dinner for Schmucks, where it's like rooted in this thing of like, be alive, do this thing. And kind of like you're saying, it's just this like repeated, there isn't a like living response even from the Andre character. He's come in there with his lectures and he's just there to blast this person. And so we get a film experience that doesn't represent any of what the movie is talking about. So to me, it's this also self-indulgent kind of playwright way of thinking, which is that, well, the power of my words will change. And he left with a different perspective that day. And the point of the movie, at least, is that he kind of didn't. He's like, I hear you, but I actually just like my like tasks in a day.
But his speech at the end, as he's getting as he's in the taxi, is a different outlook on life than his speech when he's getting on the subway, where he's talking about, I only am thinking about money. I've left all of my artistic desires behind. I only am trying to survive. Right. And at the end, he's looking at all the buildings and being like, oh shit, I bought a suit with my father right there. That's like a beautiful moment that is a communal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What impresses me so much about it is how it's, like, I agree with you about there seems to be a perspective, like a main perspective that's being espoused. But I think it's amazing how they're able to make so much room for the subtleties and the disagreements. And like, there's always space for you to say, but what about this? Like, and I do think the movie's assuming that as an audience member, you're kind of going in like Wallace Shawn. So they don't really give him the room to talk until halfway through when he's like, if you really want to know what I think about this, I think it's all bullshit. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I do think it does a good job at doing justice to that perspective, while also, you know, having Andre say, well, you got to shake things up too, you know? Yeah. So I don't know. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'll say I really liked the use of the waiter. It's a small thing.
His eyebrows?
Blinking?
His blinking and eyebrows. But to me, it really, it became the actual... one of the most active parts of the portraying of, I think, this real story of it. Yeah. Which is that, like, that waiter was just always giving these looks of, like, disapproving looks.
Yeah, but I argue that that's not what the film is trying to do. It's not trying to show someone, like, disapproving of that as they go by. It is merely showing that, like, moment in the restaurant and allowing you the room to infer what your attitude is onto the blank characters that are around it, I think.
Fair? Yeah.
I can
they
see
weren't
that.
They weren't overly like intentional looks. It's true, but I would say that there was intention in the edits.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So blank slate, yes, of the actor, kind of mostly, but the edit seemed to imply that there was. Again, maybe I'm projecting on the edit as well.
But no, I do agree. My sense of it was this thing of, you know, the waiter as a role. He's playing the waiter role, and then at the end they cut to the waiter kind of not connecting with him, and he looks kind of confused. Yeah. That edit at the end, I think, it seems to be conveying something, you know, relating it to the conversation they've been having.
Well, right? Andre. He is telling the story, and in the story someone laughs, and so he laughs and does this big laugh, and then there's a shot of the waiter being like, you know, just a look of like why are you doing that? Yeah, but even still,
yeah, but that, like, and the movie is itself attempting to be a bit of the manifesto that his theater encompassed, where you strip away the mechanical elements of theater and you are just left with the human beings that are saying words to you, and they're supposed to have done enough work that, like, they are stripped of any mechanical functions too, and it is just the pure raw truth, yada yada blah 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 blah. But
similar to Dinner for Schmucks.
Very similar.
Yes.
Raw truth.
Raw truth. Great story points like the truth of the IRS, the truth behind business.
Why was the IRS open at like 10 o'clock at night?
They work all hours. 24-hour enterprise business. IRS never sleeps. They're like that. They're like Navy SEALs. This movie, as we kind of mentioned, the story I think the moment where the story becomes irredeemable is the business brunch with the Swiss couple. That's where it's truly too much to bear.
To me, that's when something kind of started happening. Okay, you know that scene where they break into Jermaine Clement's house?
Yeah.
That could have just removed that whole thing from the movie, and it would have made literally no difference to anything that happened.
Yeah.
And that was like 8 minutes.
Yeah, and it's like an hour and 50-minute movie, so that'd be great.
Anyway, yeah.
I think I lost. That was the scene I broke for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
I had
when
a visceral response.
I put my head in my hands and just gave up on everything. But like, what was just before that scene? There was her coming over. Glenda, what's it? Dylan? No, what's her name? Darla comes over.
That is fucking so hard too. When he turns away his girlfriend, and that's Darla in, and it's just like
so many plot points revolve around someone walking in and overhearing someone saying something mean.
Well, and people making inexplicable decisions.
Yeah,
like this idea that Paul Rudd's character, or that Steve Carell's character, gets Paul Rudd audited, and his response is, "Come stay at my house overnight and the next day."
Yeah.
Like, you're coming back, like, you left your keys and your bus pass at my house.
So come crash.
Move in with me.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
None.
But that is a pivotal plot point to getting us to the brunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I'm saying that to argue with you and say that the movie was broken well before brunch.
Yeah, it's true. I cede my previous point and agree with Sean that the brunch scene is where I broke. That's when it's too much.
The last bit of decency I had as a human being left.
And it's not explained. Like, he's like, "I'll fix this," and so he off screen contacts Darla, the stalker of Paul Rudd, in that time, and finds her and brings her. He's left the chair behind, but he was attached to it. But
oh yeah, I forgot about the chair.
I don't know. I thought it was on the bus. I thought they were gonna pull out when he was on the bus and he'd still be sitting on the chair.
Yeah, they were playing that he was gonna like put it on top of the car like Mr. Bean, and
right.
And instead, that's just gone. And then the next cut is him arriving with Darla to the brunch, and it just made my bones hurt.
It felt like there were, and that scene is part of it. All these callbacks. Let's bring back Darla. Let's make callbacks to jokes that you never want to hear again.
Yeah.
Like, I do not want to see this again. And when it comes back, you just cringe.
Like her destroying the car, her destroying his house. The women characters in this film are awful. It's a great example of like they have no idea. It's the same producer, same director as the Austin Powers movies, and they really take that same kind of like inherent misogyny that is pretty deep in those movies, and like it's just kind of layered into these women for jokes. Yeah, the girlfriend is like elusive. She has no true character. She is just like she's a foil to whatever has to happen in that scene. It's terrible.
I think that's important to say is how deeply sexist this movie is. There is not a single female character with any dimension at all.
No, there's that horrible woman that's part of the like cool group who
also gets like made sex jokes at.
Yeah, and don't they like doesn't Steve Carell like reach inside her dress when he's having the shoot off with Zach Galifianakis?
To grab an invisible
the
weapon.
Psychic shootout.
Yeah.
Make sure you clarify just so everyone knows what we're talking about, because they might not know what shootout
brain
we're talking
control
about.
versus mind control.
Yeah, the brain control versus mind control shootout.
I will say I'm happy there was at least one shootout today.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, we did need that.
Dan, when he goes to a movie, he expects to see something.
I want things go boom.
Like a shootout.
That's what Daniel wants.
Well, let's not talk on these stories anymore. These points will come up a bit more in our next category. So let's take a little breather here, because maybe ads play, so we just like make room for that. But if not, we'll see you in literally 1 second when I keep talking to take us into our next rounds. And we're back. Don't roll your eyes.
I hated that.
What?
No, it was good. It was good.
I was leaning back. It felt right. I followed an impulse.
It looked good. I'm sorry. I shouldn't hate on you.
Yeah.
He's doing the best he can.
No, I know. I'm jealous. Really.
I'm not. Okay, let's get into our second round.
Mike's like, where am I? Why did I do
I have
this?
too
Our
much education for
second
this.
round.
I could be marking papers right now.
Please no.
You want to check those emails? There you go. Okay, our second round, which is round 2, production. Good?
So Daniel, shit on my dinner with Andre.
I mean, what can we say about production of My Dinner with Andre? It's like 3 angles, super hard light, which makes no sense because it's a lamp, and no soundtrack. There is nothing to
No,
say.
but when there
piano
was
piece
a,
at
when
the
there
end.
was
and
a,
so and some very poor camera movement when it is introduced into the movie. By
It's
the way,
kind of their style, though. I watched. Sorry, I should say. When I watched Vanya on 42nd Street
Unacceptable.
this morning, the camera work is almost identical to the camera work that was in this one.
It looks bad. It looks amateur.
It's noticeable.
Yeah, it's noticeably bad.
I don't consider it bad.
But it is. It is bad. There was a moment when they were pushing in on Andre's character during his Buried Alive story.
Yeah.
And there was no consistency in the pace of the push-in. It was
No.
completely random.
Why does it have to have that?
Because that's just like proper camera movement.
Why?
Oh, I hate you so much.
No, but that's the point of the
hate you so
film.
much.
Why?
That is not the point of the film. That is
I
not
mean,
the point of the film.
It's a little bit about questioning the regulations.
No,
of the
because it wasn't so obvious that it was like it was subtle enough that it was clearly a mistake and not like a point that they were making.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually hear both of your points. I agree with Sean.
I'm mostly
where
provoking you.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
No, you are.
No, but I agree with Sean where it's like we should ask the question like you can't just say this is the right way to do camera work. That is bullshit. That's not proper reviewing. And at the same time, I'm hearing Dan go, but you weren't trying to do that. You just weren't good at it, and you kind of did a bad job of what I think you were actually trying to do was a push-in.
But that's what it is. Camera movement should help tell the story in that beat. Like that is the purpose of camera movement. It is to add a tone or help move the story along. Well, what I'm talking about in that moment, it didn't do either one. It just poorly framed Andre and was just noticeably jarring, but not to serve any kind of purpose.
Right.
So you can say that wasn't right because it didn't serve a function. It was just.
So I noticed that in that moment. You know the moment we're talking of? It really zooms in on his face
For the first time.
and it's like it takes up probably a half of the frame. His face.
Is that when he talks about dying or the fake death thing?
Yeah, so there's that one, and I noticed the zoom in, and I noticed ooh, that's kind of clunky, but again I went okay, maybe they're doing something yada yada, but then I just got transfixed by what he was saying, and I honestly didn't care that I was missing his chin.
That to me is I don't care that the production is bad, but I do agree that if it were better, I don't think that would take away from the movie, right? I think that would actually probably make it better. Like if the production, if the camera moved more smoothly, if it made more sense, the lighting, I think all that would improve the movie.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
you know what I mean?
And my guess, honestly, is that because they wanted these things in one take, performance mattered way more than a camera move.
Oh, yeah.
Because that take is, for all we know, could have been 20-minute take of the one shot. Because he just keeps talking.
Yeah.
So they're not going to redo that because the push-in was bad. But for that reason, the production value and elements like that get sacrificed.
Yeah,
It's just not a production movie.
they probably had a bare bones crew.
It's a our words
I'd be
are
surprised
enough
if there was more
movie.
than 15 people.
Oh yeah.
There's also something, I like the aesthetic. It feels a little, I don't want to call it punk, but it does feel a little like we don't know what we're doing, making a movie. We're theater people, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But then you contrast that to something like, obviously, Citizen Kane. These are theater people who actually do know what they're doing, and it does look a hell of a lot better. Although I know that's a touchy subject around here at the Citizen Kane talk. So.
Yeah, come
We're
on.
coming up to our 100th episode. We'll redo Citizen Kane.
Yeah,
for
we
that
should
one.
redo that movie. Actually get it on the catalog.
What was I going to say? What were you talking about?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Perfect.
More champagne.
So Dinner for Schmucks.
Dinner for Schmucks.
Dinner for Schmucks is like a pretty, I don't know, painfully clean movie, actually.
Except
all
for the
things
score.
Considered. The score.
The score is... Okay, the one
hurts.
thing I will say the score was bad. The score was bad. But it did what a score is meant to do, and that is help tell the story
But it
in
didn't
that
help.
moment.
Kind of.
But it fit like
it's wacky, I guess.
like without that score in the background, the scenes would be equally as fucking stupid. So it isn't like all it did was it helped create, like, fill out the environment in that moment.
Sure. It sounded like they put
I'm not defending it, by the way.
The score, with the exception of having the Fool on the Hill bookend the movie, which when I first heard it, I was like, okay, Fool on the Hill, that makes sense. And then I was like, oh, you just like Googled Fool music and chose the first most popular song.
Songs with dumb in the name.
The rest of the soundtrack sounded like they put it into Windows Movie Maker and had the like default sound maps you could have, and just like drag and dropped the like default.
It totally did. I will give it I won't blame the score entirely, because the problem is the scenes didn't make any sense and you had no idea how to feel emotionally. So you did need a stupid accordion playing when he had his mice, so you knew not to throw up. You knew to be like, oh, that's cute. So I don't blame the score for that. But
it was like trying to help us, being like, we know you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But this is supposed to be a quirky scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might seem like a weird, dark, twisted thriller, and yet we're telling you with this music, it's like a silly scene.
But yeah, other than that, they had the costumes of people living in 2010. They drove the cars that people in 2010 drove. They
had different shots to establish things.
Yeah, they had shots. It was movie.
Someone was like, but in that pointless sequence where they go to Jermaine's apartment, they'll pull up in the Porsche, and it won't look like someone's messing up the clutch, but it'll pull up to a fancier looking, edgy Manhattan what is that called? Devil's Kitchen? Hell's Kitchen? Devil's Kitchen, whatever. Hell's Kitchen kind of neighborhood.
Isn't that a bad neighborhood?
Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's now like a...
Daredevil cleaned it up?
Yeah, he cleaned it up.
Sick.
But there was like an establishing
Gordon Ramsay
shot
cleaned it up, actually.
that was like telling us the kind of neighborhood this guy lived in without any words. And there wasn't like a thing that came up that went like, Hell's Kitchen, Manhattan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
Someone was like, we'll use shots to tell things to the audience sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like there was a competent maybe director behind it who I see what
Something,
you mean. It's
people...
competent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when like things need to look like things, they look like those things. She throws a wine bottle and it breaks their shelf.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like.
Yep.
Like, check mark.
I want to say two things. One, that scene that you just referenced with the Porsche pulling up in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't know who here drives standard, but that car's not making it to that fucking apartment with someone who doesn't know how to drive standard.
Screwing up the clutch like that.
He says something literally like you need to use the clutch. You can't just shift. That car's not
No,
going.
the gearbox
to move.
doesn't. The gearbox doesn't make it past the third corner.
No.
Yeah.
No. But I also want to, for what it's worth, give a shout out to the production designer and the props department for Dinner for Schmucks. Some of the stuff in that film, like
the mouse stuff.
The mouse stuff was
looks
great. And the stuff, the paintings. Jermaine, what was his name? Jermaine Clement.
Yeah.
That's his name. Yeah.
Everything
Kieran.
to do with that character was so well thought out and detailed. The photography setups in his house, all of his artwork, all
his
the mouse
barn
stuff,
ranch with giraffes
and
they
goats.
got that.
That stuff. That was a very, very well thought out aspect of the production. So.
Yeah. The design of it was a well designed movie. The design of the office felt like an office that slick people work here. Like it was all. Paul Rudd sunglasses and early Bluetooth in his Porsche.
Oh my God. When that guy pulled out the iPod Nano to show him the video.
Oh boy.
What
I wonder
year
how
did
much
this come
money
out?
Apple gave them for that. Oh,
to show off.
I don't know that we ever actually saw an Apple logo on it though, so they could.
But it's very clearly.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
What year was it that it came out?
2010.
Do we know how much money this movie made?
I can look it up real quick.
I was wondering the same thing.
Bam.
I'd love to know. Because it doesn't feel like a movie that came out that long before like smartphones, but clearly it was.
Yeah.
Unless they were doing a Breaking Bad thing where they were purposely putting it in a time before smartphones.
Yeah.
I don't think it's.
No, I don't think so. Also, This movie, as much as it makes so many fucking faux pas in most categories, again, the production team, like something that came up on a recent episode, we were talking about like using the other tools you have to, if you're a comedic movie, to be comedic. And this movie had like physical bits. It had like funny shots, like seeing the progression of Paul Rudd with his hurt back getting into his bedroom was very funny. His performance was good, and then there's the final shot. You see him pulling himself directly towards the camera on the floor, and then the next shot is just his feet sliding into the bedroom. Like, that's a funny joke that is just shots and someone with a creative idea, like, you know, as opposed to like another person might do that poorly, or like the bit with the guy's ring. Where he's like, oh, you know my family sigil. And he like holds up his ring and then he shows it to everyone.
On his index finger.
On his index finger. Yeah, his index finger.
Those were most of the laughs throughout the movie. Was one shot of one person kind of looking funny or intense or doing something silly. And you're like, actually, yeah, this is good.
You wanted the budget?
I want the budget.
Give us it all.
Against how much money they made.
I also want the budget and box office for the other movie as well.
I've got some stuff for that. So the budget for Dinner for Schmucks was 62.7 to 69 million. There seems to be some
that's not a lot of
variation there. And the box
Octavia
office,
Spencer.
Yeah. And the box office was 86.9 million.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah,
that's real bad.
I'll quickly look up Dinner for Andre. I do know
real bad.
that Siskel and Roper, was it in the 80s before Ebert came on, or is it Ebert? Anyways,
Roper was after
they ranked
Ebert and Siskel,
Ebert and Siskel. They ranked it their favorite movie of 1981, and they ranked it their like 5th favorite movie of the 80s. And because of that, and partly because of that, they credit it. This movie ran in theaters for over a year.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man.
I will say a lot of the philosophy in it that seems we're a little more used to it. Like there was a whole section where they were pretty much just talking about like Foucauldian, talking about neoliberal self-governance, the panopticon, and Foucault theory. Anyway, that was very new. That came out in like 75 at the time. Now the idea of like us all being our own prison guards and like we're working our remember that?
That clip gets posted also all the time still. People love to share that clip of like, yeah, man. Cities are concentration camps, man.
So the budget actually.
Sorry.
All right. So I want guesses on how much you think the budget for My Dinner with Andre was. Guess.
It was
1981.
1981. $7,000. No, that's a joke.
30,000.
Come back to me.
$800, or it's either 30 or 800.
No, I'm gonna say it was in the realm of maybe like $45,000-$50,000.
$475,000.
$475,000 spent on what?
It was really the dinner they bought was really expensive. It's a fancy
fancy crew.
That famous waiter. He was an actor. He's like an opera star, and
is that real?
No, that would be great though.
And it brought in 5.2 mil.
Wow,
Blumhouse success.
What? How? I guess we can segue into acting from this, but how popular was Wallace Shawn at this point in time? Like, was he
in the theater? Pretty in demand, but in film, he was just kind of. This is before Princess Bride.
Okay,
I don't think he was a known actor really at all before it, was he?
Yeah, unlike now.
So, But I mean, he's not no one walks around with Wallace Shawn in their lips, I suppose.
Except for you.
Yeah,
what about Andre Grigori?
He acted in a lot of movies. Actually, there was a movie we've seen that he was in. I can't remember what it was, but he's mostly a stage director.
So where the hell did that money go? Like, they shot this. I can almost guarantee they shot this movie in a day.
No, I think it took weeks to film this thing.
How?
Because the script was also, they hired Louis Malle, who was a pretty renowned like French director. He asked to be a part of it, and they were like, "Yeah, come on as director." Yeah, so I'm sure he's 100,000 of the 475.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know how that movie could have taken weeks to shoot, though. So many long takes.
Well, I remember what I was going to say. It was supposed to be 3 hours long, but the director cut it down.
Oh, thank God for that.
Yeah, that's
3 hours long.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about actors.
I want to see the director's cut.
I gotta say, the acting in that movie, I think Andre Gregory especially, like I
hold on, Mike. Let me just hit this bell here for this, because there are regular viewers that are just gonna be thrown. So if we don't have the
there we go.
There we go.
Right,
go on.
Bring it on.
Pavlovian response.
yeah, I thought he was amazing. I mean, when I start this movie and I start hearing Andre Gregory talk,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm in. It sucks me in, and I can watch it for 2 hours. I'm sure Daniel disagrees.
Well, I actually had the total opposite experience, and so here's my thing, and I was reminded of our mutual experience in year 1 acting class at George Brown, because this guy, like, there's no doubt he's an amazing actor, and he is honestly telling those stories. Mm-hmm. The problem is when you hear someone talk for an hour and a half and they almost never change the cadence or tone of their voice, eventually it becomes white noise to me.
Sure. That's fair.
Yeah, very similar delivery.
Very, very, very similar. Like, I don't want to say he got caught in a rhythm because I don't think that's what it is, but there's a very there's a very similar way to the way he delivered, and the
stories begin to blend
and
together.
The content of the stories is like vastly different, and yet they all kind of sound the same.
And he varies in his emotional state, certainly, but that the emotional state never goes outside of a certain. But I'm with you, Michael. Like, the moment he starts talking, I kind of like, you're my favorite uncle, and I want to hear every story you have to tell me.
Yeah, it feels like you're like riding a flow of like a rhythm, and it's true. If you like fall out for 30 seconds in your attention and you come back, it's hard to get back in because you're like, wait, where are we now? There's like a
and it's tough when the first half of the film, the only thing Wallace Shawn is allowed to do is provoke conversation by saying, like, tell me more. And what's that about?
Which is like, I like to ask questions, and you're like, oh boy. He's like, so what else?
Or when there's narration over the two of them having a conversation, but the narration is about what they're having the conversation about. You're like, just tell us, guys. Come on.
Just do it.
I will say, when Wallace Shawn was eating that food, he looked like he enjoyed it, but I think that food looks so disgusting.
It does look terrible.
Yeah.
And he only eats like 4 bites off the plate. Yeah. When the waiter comes pick it up, it's like a full plate of food.
They brought those, like, I think they're potatoes that have been like pickled or something, so they're like a yellow jelly.
Maybe this is a production conversation because that food looked terrible.
It looked awful, and they brought the salad after the entree. Terrible.
Also, Wallace Shawn is maybe the worst eater on camera.
I am here for his eating. See, I am here for it.
Sure, but I actually found that I had the opposite gripe with Wallace Shawn, where he had such clearly a theater actor. That makes a lot of sense now, because he
was a playwright first and then an actor, and
sure, whatever. But he had essentially the same line for an hour, and he's clearly playing like his character has a very specific role to play in that conversation, which is
facilitate.
And then what happened?
Yeah.
But there were so many times where it felt like he was trying to make such a fucking meal of that line.
His performance isn't very good.
It felt distracting.
I know that's weird.
When he gets to actually, they get to actually like talk to each other.
Yeah,
totally.
Cool. At minute 90, when he gets to also talk a bit, he's fine and is a capable performer. But like the takes that they cut in of him listening and stuff are not good, and it's partly the editing. They linger on him too long and stuff that you can see. Well, you see him like. I don't know. It's just,
that editing is there to make the dinner awkward, because it is a dinner he doesn't want to go to at first. And I think those pauses are there because he genuinely is just like an anxious wreck and is like, I don't want to be here talking to you.
Yeah, I do. I see what you mean. It feels like he's acting pretty hard. And again, like anything that's bad about the movie, you can kind of be like, oh, but I can write an essay about that, you know?
Yeah.
Which makes it hard to talk about in this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think his discomfort is really important throughout the whole thing, and the fact that he's sort of supposed to be the guy who's like, I'm hearing all this nonsense and I don't buy it.
Well,
I think he does a good job too of also being the guy who like wants to be agreeable, and is kind of being like, yeah, I know just what you mean, and then he says a little short story point that like
is
you're
quite
like,
what
that's
it is.
Not what he was talking about.
So.
You're talking about how you think it was rude that your castmates said stuff to you that you didn't like.
Yeah.
That's not the same, but he's talking about like a spiritual reawakening, and you're like, yeah, they bothered me.
Well, like one of the very first things he says in the movie to Andre Gregory is Grotowski still thin?
Yeah.
It's like, and he's like, what are you talking about?
In fact, it's one of those classic great theater. Is he still thin? Giving no information about who he's talking about, and he's like, what? Like, Grotowski, is he still thin? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but I want to talk about Dinner for Schmucks in this category.
It's important to talk about Dinner for Schmucks because this movie actually shines in the acting category.
What?
Oh no.
Okay, you can all fuck off.
No,
not
Dan,
you.
I'm with
not
you.
you, Jack. It is a shame. It is a crime against humanity that all these actors are in this movie delivering this material.
Being bad in it, yeah.
However, they all do great jobs.
No, they don't all do.
Steve
good
Carell,
jobs.
even Steve Carell,
Even Steve Carell doing
has great moments.
Okay, who stands out to you as someone who's not consistently good in this movie?
Steve Carell's not consistently good in this movie.
Steve Carell, for the character he's playing, I would argue is consistently good. It's just his character is written so fucking poorly.
Yeah, it's a writing
There's only
issue.
so much you can do. It's definitely a writing issue.
It's a writing issue.
I think he's also going out of his way not to play someone who's too like neurodiverse.
Yeah.
Trying not to
obviously.
lean into it too hard, right?
Yeah, because for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But the movie's just genetically offensive, so he can't really
Yeah.
avoid it. So
That's such a great way to put it.
Genetically
That's a
offensive.
tough thing
I love
for
that.
his performance. But I agree with you. Like the acting in this movie, I just get scared because it's going to give My Dinner with Andre a run for its money. I
Yeah.
think in our voting right now.
Yeah.
Oh no, but
Yeah.
here's the thing though. Where this is a often way that I analyze these things. I go, in what way did this category did it elevate the movie? Like which one did it better? Like which one served the movie better? And 100%, the performances in Dinner for Schmucks are the only reason
Yeah.
that it's actually watchable in little moments.
Little moments.
Because even the moments that you cringe the next moment, but Jermaine Clement is fantastic.
great.
Good
Yeah.
throughout.
Paul Rudd is actually really clear.
He's Paul Rudd.
Really funny moments.
Yeah.
Steve Carell has a really tough job and does a pretty good job with it. All the little bit parts of even like I think she's
the
married
sweet-
to
this-
Jermaine Clement in real life, but his assistant, I forget her name.
Oh,
Kristen Shaw.
Kristen
Kristen
Shaw.
Shaw.
Is she married to Jermaine Clement?
Yeah,
I love
Really?
that.
I think so. Yeah,
I
they
love that.
they wrote like a book together on like
Oh.
lovemaking. or
She's
something.
in What We Do in the
Flight-
Shadows,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is his. Yeah.
They met on Flight of the Conchords, I think.
yeah.
Because she's in that.
Oh, of
she's
course,
the
yeah.
one who loves them.
That's
and,
right.
And she's like
Oh.
their
The
big
stalker,
super fan.
right?
That
Or
makes
yeah,
me so
yeah.
happy.
But even the woman who plays the stalker does
Yeah,
great
she's great.
physical bits. Like
She's
she
good.
sells it. Like I'm sorry, the performances in this movie are the best part of it, which
Yeah.
is why I can't. I would
Yeah.
wholly defend it.
Yeah.
This movie is full of actually really capable comedic performances. It's just the worst fucking
Except the
script
dinner
ever made.
Octavia Spencer proves why she got the Oscar because she commits. She
commits.
commits
Yeah.
to that fucking horrible psychic character.
I would say maybe the one standout for me that doesn't really fit in with what we're talking about
Yeah.
is Galifianakis.
Ooh, bad.
Quite bad.
Real bad.
Yeah,
Quite bad.
I mean, it's a weird. It's again the writing.
Chris
seems
O'Dowd
bad.
is terrible in this. In his like very offensive blind French
Yeah, but
man.
those people that get introduced just for the dinner to be fucking
Yeah, they
like
probably were given the script the morning of because they were next door
Yeah.
shooting something else.
fucking Jeff Dunham. Like no one gives a shit, right?
yeah.
At least they didn't let him talk really.
Thank
I
God.
don't think Randall Park had a single line in that
He
movie.
did
not.
No.
Well, he's not white. Right. So it's one of the things, and then I think about My Dinner with Andre, and like this movie to me is just not about the acting. It's just like it's an acting neutral film to me in many ways, and I'm not saying that it's not there, and like I can appreciate that as much as the cadences are similar, Andre was also doing enough for me to like stay with it for a long period, but it's debate me.
but
Challenge
Oh,
me.
I'm happy to debate, but go ahead, Daniel.
Well, no, my only point is I agree with you, but I also think that is a knock against the movie because when the whole movie is two people at a table talking, it needs to be about the performances. It has to.
But it is.
That's how I feel. I feel like I watch that for an hour and 50 minutes, glued to it. I know that's not the experience here, but it
For one
was
person, it
totally
kind of
because
was.
the acting. Yeah, it was fully,
They certainly help it. That's the thing. Same
Yeah.
thing as I would say. They absolutely elevated the film.
You know why I am so gripped by this movie? I was the same as you. I watched this in high school, and at that time, it blew my mind. It was like, well, I've never seen anything like this, and I just kind of forgot about it. And then I watched it again today, and it is the antithesis to a lot of the theater here in this city that drives me fucking insane, where everyone is a character and has these big motivations that they really drive home, and you can see the work. There's no work being shown in Andre's performance. There's some work in Wallace Shawn's performance. There's especially the shots of him just like walking down the street. There's a lot of like, okay, you're being very natural right now. I can see that, but like Andre's just talking. I do hate "I mean" as a phrase, and that happens a lot in this film where they're like stalling. I don't know how much they like memorized or how much because they wrote it they just were doing off the cuff because they remembered the conversation and were doing that. But anytime an actor says I mean, it kicks me out, and I have to like really claw to get back in, and every like 3 words sometimes it's like I mean this, I mean that, I mean this. Yeah,
that's interesting. I see why they might feel it's a little more naturalistic, but there's no need for it.
Yeah,
and I will say about his.
I'm pinning that thought for after this.
Sure, just Andre Gregory's performance, just to give it a little more credit, is I don't think it's total. He's playing this childlike wisdom. It's this weird combination of being like a kid that's so excited about everything, but having also this profound kind of traumatic wisdom, And it's that thing of like, no, I'm doing terrible. Like I'm falling apart. My life is falling apart.
Yeah.
But I still have this like childlike wonder. And I feel like to be able to play both of those seemingly contradictory things at the same time and talk for an hour and 30 minutes, I mean, I'm just so impressed with that.
Yeah.
It's a fair point. I just want to like fight with Sean's point further.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause the timer even. I'll ding it.
I mean?
Yeah. No. But like talking about just like performances and acting that we see in our live performance industry or whether it kind of translate into film and TV or whatever. I'm actually like a bit jaded. It's funny to say that because I feel like we see a lot of the like this is it. Like you see what we're doing here?
Yeah.
You see what we're doing here? This is it. This is like the play where the words are gonna. This is it.
But that's what I'm talking about that I hate.
But that's My Dinner with Andre.
That's not My Dinner with Andre.
It is the prototype of people have been trying to copy My Dinner with Andre.
They've been trying to copy it and failing.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also like. But it's also the thing. Like it also is the thing. Like it isn't free from being that up its own butt acting experience.
Sure,
I am just a guy talking.
If I met Andre at a party and he started in about his like experiences being buried alive in the Scottish Highlands or whatever it was, I would walk away from that conversation. A lot of what he says in that character is straight out of Alex Jones's current like playbook. So like, granted, he's a weird guy that is very up his own ass, but like, they pull it off in this movie, and no one is that good.
I just don't know. In terms of which movie was like lifted up more by the performances in it. I just think like I don't know. I think I kind of think you're overselling the natural work of Andre in this film.
Sure.
I think honestly, you could get 2 other just decently capable performers, and this movie would come across about the same.
I also want to push back a little bit on you, Sean, for saying that you don't.
Yeah, pile on.
No. Well,
come on.
You
Get
said
him, Mike.
You mentioned that you couldn't see any of the work being done.
Yeah, I mean, it jumps out. Yeah.
Well, not even that, but just the rhythm of Andre's conversation to me felt a lot more like somebody who was trying to come across as natural and conversational, as opposed to somebody who was really telling those stories. Because if you were really telling those stories, and it's a hard fucking job, it's a 90-minute monologue, there would be more variety. There would be more. In a real
show,
conversation. In a real conversation.
No,
I thought.
But also Andre is a weird dude. He's a weird dude, and that's just kind of the way he is.
Yes, there's always a reason. Well, he's a weird dude.
He's a weird dude.
Yeah. Well,
and one other thing I'll say, and I think this was a point that Mike.
Zach Galifianakis' character is a weird dude.
No, Zach Galifianakis is a weird dude. That character is bad.
Well, he is a weird dude.
Thurman was a weird dude. I could say the same thing.
Yeah, with a bad beard.
Weird beard for a weird dude.
Yeah.
Like a Sorry, we jumped in.
No, that's okay. I'm glad that I'm eliciting conversation. Sparking.
Yeah, what Dan said.
Yeah.
Get him, Mike.
Ow, Mike, no.
I would be curious, and this is a point that Mike made earlier. I would be curious how this movie would affect me if I were watching it in '81 and not now. When the ideas were fresh and it was something that I hadn't heard before, as opposed to now where it's literally on every social media feed. It is like a whole movement.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
you haven't been
ironically on all social media feeds. Yeah.
No, but like we have been inundated with this idea or these ideas for long enough.
Systems are killing us.
That it doesn't feel fresh or original.
Yeah.
I do also just want to point out one more thing. There is some irony in the fact that he repeatedly talks about us being lobotomized by TV and needing to live in the moment and
they're
it
making
being
a movie.
conveyed
They made
on
a film.
I was gonna say Grotowski's theater is all about we can't compete with the epicness of film, and therefore we should just like stick to like trying to make a theatrical communal experience and ignore like making anything epic on that scale. And then they made a film about it. They
did avoid being epic when it was
I was gonna. I want to pause it because our version, the one that I downloaded, it was broken into two, and so the first part is just like all of him talking, and then the second part's kind of when they start talking about the more philosophical stuff rather than his experiences. So I want to say if we had just started the film at part two. Discount like if part two was the full length of the film, but it was just those conversations, would that have been a more enjoyable experience for you too?
Yes.
Yes.
I found part one to be a bit in
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, the conversation is the interesting part, and it isn't until the second half where they start to really talk about anything substantial or that is of any relevance to like other people.
Yeah.
Aside from Andre specifically.
Cool.
So I would say yes. Also, it would make the movie shorter.
Because I thought part two slapped.
Yeah, part two is
when
where,
did you start saying slapped?
Just today, baby.
Because okay.
I said it the other day. Earlier today, I think.
The day of the
Sean
slap.
does
Jack the
emulate me.
tastemaker, as we call him.
I'm a bit of a trendsetter. All right, let's fucking stop talking about it. I'm gonna press this.
Sorry,
button.
Mike. Did you have anything else to add?
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Were you doing 20-minute
not about
rounds?
acting.
Huh?
Were you doing 20-minute rounds?
No.
Okay.
12. I paused it for a
Okay.
bit though, so we
Sorry.
can fucking duke it out.
Mike.
Yeah, I didn't really have anything to add. I was going to say that I agree that the acting is really the only redeemable part of Dinner for Schmucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are many redeemable parts of the other movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know if I want to say that that's better.
I love the acting of the bartender. That's
That's
like,
a hard job.
You just
yeah.
catch in the
It's good.
background, and he's wiping the bar, and then he's just kind of standing, waiting for at attention,
That's
waiting for customer.
Fucking hard
Yeah.
job, man.
Yeah,
Doing nothing for the entire filming of the movie.
yeah.
That's not easy.
And to be clear, I don't think the performances in My Dinner with Andre are bad. I
No.
think some of the shots on Wallace Shawn are weird
I love
and made me go like, stop that.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'm trying to watch the movie. Stop fucking.
Because he's a vain piece of shit, and you're watching this vain piece of shit eat.
It's like weird. And I think it's like it's done with people who understand what theater and speeches
Yes.
are made of, and like I get that, and they communicate a lot of the things you've talked about pretty like subtly in a way that's kind of nice on film and all that kind of stuff. I just think it was like not the point of the film.
It would
it's just
slap
not what it's about.
as a podcast. My Dinner with
Yeah, it was like
Andre
an audiobook.
would slap.
Who directed the movie?
It would slap as a podcast.
Louis
Slapcast?
Mal is his name. He's a French. He didn't quite
Louis
go along
Bad.
with the other French directors of his ilk,
Bad
but
Louis.
he's a French director.
Primarily film or stage?
Film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
I just wish they hadn't side lit the whole thing with hard light. It was so annoying to me.
Yeah. Their whole movement is about natural light too. So I'd be shocked if they had more than like two lights at all.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. And
Yeah.
the way that the practicals they put in the scene made the light angle make sense.
Mhm.
But it's a lamp.
Yeah.
And it was hard light.
Yeah.
Those two things don't make
It's not
sense.
soft.
Yeah, it should have been, and that's like one modifier. It's like one flag you put up, and that solves the whole problem.
No,
Yeah, clearly no.
the concentration camps. Too many references to Nazis.
He was in Poland for a long time. It's
No
what I grew up
excuses.
with.
All right, let's take a break for maybe an ad, and then we'll come back and we'll rate these movies. All right, see you in a sec. Maybe an actual second. Alrighty, it's time. These two titans of cinema.
Sean is so nervous.
These titans of cinema, as Andre would say, have duked it out long enough. It's time. It's time to rate these movies. Let's not fuss about. So, starting with the first category of story, which movie more story good? Dan, why don't you start this one?
Which movie more story good?
I said what I said.
Yeah, I know you did. I find myself about to make that classic argument of one movie has next to no story and one movie has bad story. So I don't really know. I got a huge booger in my nose. Oh God!
Tell us the story of Flick It at Jack.
Oh,
buddy!
Is that a tick?
Sorry, everyone. Whoa. You know what? I've been feeling that in my nose for like 3 days. And it finally worked its way out.
Congratulations.
Glorious moment.
It's been like waking me up at night.
You sound different.
Do I?
You're gonna be like Wallace Shawn at the end.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I feel so much better.
Your resonance is okay.
So that's my problem, is that I don't think there is not much of a story in a filmic sense in My Dinner with Andre, but the story in Dinner for Schmucks is insanely problematic
And just a mess.
Yeah. So I guess I think I would have to go with My Dinner with Andre, because at least like log line cleanly is man has dinner with
Your premise is achieved.
a strange friend.
Yeah.
And has a life-changing moment or something, like, you know what I mean, like whatever that is, it's simple, but it gets it.
Yeah, to ease the worries of our intellectual friends, I'm inclined to agree. Dinner for Schmucks is just too. The problem with the movie is the story. Literally,
Yeah.
There's like, I feel like someone could recut this movie, and like maybe make it okay, and a couple reshoots. There's like a interesting movie about where the dinner happens halfway through and it's longer, and it's
Dinner for Schmucks.
Yeah, Dinner for Schmucks, and like it could be. There's like
So
I don't know how to do it.
It is based on a French film where the dinner is not shown, and apparently the French film is very, very good.
Oh fuck!
And
Is it a comedy?
It's like a French comedy, so it's like mostly
sad.
tragic.
With some goofiness.
Yeah, and apparently the protagonist in the French one is just completely unlikable. Like, even at the end, you're like, damn, I don't want you to succeed.
That's really interesting, because that does exist in this movie, but they're trying to have it both ways.
Yeah, they're trying to. Yeah, Paul Rudd has the I know how I'm better now.
And
okay.
and also how you're supposed to feel bad for Steve Carell, and I never really do.
No.
So in story, I include writing, and I think the only thing that does exist, not the only thing, but the main thing that exists in My Dinner with Andre is writing. A multitude of thoughtful writing. Does all of it stick with you? No, but the impression that's left, I think, is strong, and is leaving me thinking still. And so there's no way I can say that, because it's a movie of writing. So to me, it's of course My Dinner with Andre.
Yeah, I have to agree. The story of Dinner for Schmucks is just horrendous.
Yeah,
I mean, it's what you guys were saying. It's just it's unbearable, and it's offensive, and it's hypocritical and self-contradictory, and literally doesn't make sense from scene to scene. So yeah, I mean, it's got to be. And I like My Dinner with Andre. So,
Yep.
Yeah, gotta be.
I'm also wholly convinced that the only good bits of like what seems like individual moments of good writing in Dinner for Schmucks is improv.
Yes.
Is Jermaine Clement and Paul
100%.
Rudd, and Kristen Shaw,
and
Nick Kroll, etc. Like and Larry
Wilmore. Yeah,
So,
he was good.
that's
He
his
was very
name.
good.
Larry Wilmore, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just them improvising stuff, and
Yep.
that's the only reason that those moments were funny. I am convinced no one could tell me otherwise.
Yep.
So sorry, Sean, to pile up on you here in this round. and
Well, I
leave
think
you-
Dinner for Schmucks actually has a lot of redeeming qualities.
Here we go.
I've been sticking up for this film the entire time.
You liberal cuck.
You soy boy.
What?
Uh,
Been called
so
worse things by better people.
Soy boy.
That's a clean sweep in the story for
totally
Andre.
vegetarian.
Yeah.
Fucking love soy.
Soy rules.
So production. For me, production is Dinner for Schmucks.
Yeah.
It is. It has a bunch of beautifully produced moments. And it's not what Sean has put 4 notches.
Everyone said yeah.
but it's a real shame because My Dinner with Andre, like that movie shot today with the exact same simplicity in mind.
I mean, watch the Community episode and you get the shots you want, I guess.
But that's just it. Like it comes down to the awkward editing and the clunky camera work. Like it's not,
which I kind of love.
Well, that's because you have a hard on for the movie, but I feel like it isn't.
You do want to have sex with
You
this
want to
movie.
have sex with the
absolutely.
movie.
Yeah, okay, that is.
But like it
works.
isn't the fact that it's 3 or 4 shots and just a conversation. That's fine. Content is king. If it's an interesting story, that's not the issue. It's just the fact that it is that on top of that it is also clunky and awkward.
What is this
happening?
for?
It's a green.
Jack is putting a shawl on me.
It's a green fold neck cardigan like Andre.
Oh my god, it is the exact cardigan.
Oh my god.
I love it.
Yeah. There you go, Sean. Now you can be Andre.
Now I was
can
exploring
you
the
lean
woods.
on one elbow up on the
It's funny you say that
And
because
do
when I
this
was
a lot.
exploring the woods in Israel
Okay,
with,
but now lean
with
in
Grant
when you
Grovler,
agree that life is boring. Or we're bored. Lean in. Say we're bored.
we're bored with life,
Yeah, there we go.
and it's that.
Nazis.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so now
I did love that when he just happens to let the word inconceivable slip out.
Yeah.
Everyone's ears
Everyone's like,
perked up.
yeah.
we all looked at each other.
This is pre-Princess Bride.
Okay, so that's 4 dominant notches for story for Andre.
It is a true tie going into the final.
and
Here we go.
And if you
And
heard
there's-
the third round, this is going to be tricky.
What do we do if it's a tie? If
We've had ties before.
Yeah.
We've had ties.
What do we do in that?
And it might
I
just
forget.
be a tie. Yeah,
Yeah.
We don't have a
Or we let
tiebreakers
the guest
process.
decide in some cruel twist of fate.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
I mean, we could do the rewatchability as a tiebreak.
Oh well, no, that's
You
mean you want Andre to win?
That's not fair.
Wild card. I don't know.
Could be wild
okay,
card.
okay,
Yeah,
so-
Mike picks a wild card.
We have
Go.
to, we have to pause the stream. Okay, so let's go into it and see what happens. So acting.
Andre.
For me,
Andre for me.
for you.
Yeah.
For me, it's clearly Dinner for Schmucks.
Okay.
And for me, I'm gonna make Mike go last as the guest.
Oh yeah, Jack loves being kingmaker.
But I'm also
Oh, I thought you
yeah.
were.
No, I'm
Never mind. I was just prejudiced against you and just assumed what you were
I should have
saying.
never put that green fold neck cardigan on you.
And that's why
You've
when
changed,
I
man.
was exploring the lagoons of Scotland,
When I was riding horses,
When I was literally being nailed to a cross in Israel.
I'm Jesus, and I have a message.
they led me blindfolded through fields of corn.
As I was baking naan in Palestine, a small Eurasian monk spoken. Okay, so I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't have his acting
fair.
ability. For me, it's going to be, as I kind of debated for, it's Dinner for Schmucks.
Okay.
People worked fucking hard in that movie.
Yeah.
And it should have been completely unwatchable. And instead, I laughed quite a bit. I
laughed more than I thought I would laugh at that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
fair.
were like many laughs.
Yep.
More laughs than I've had in other movies that I thought were funny movies.
Yeah.
And that's to me only because of the performances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only. And a few production notes, but essentially only the performances.
Okay.
So to me, it's just the movie where the acting is actually like the star. And it otherwise is a fucking train wreck of a story.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. Go for it.
Yeah, I agree that the acting in Dinner for Schmucks was really good, and the cast was amazing.
Great, there we go.
And what I will say, something that we haven't mentioned is I do feel some of the performances are sort of like they're in different movies. Like I think the boss is in a different movie
Yeah.
from Larry Wilmore, who's in a different movie from the other guy in the guy from
Because
Office
of the
Space.
improv
The, like,
stuff.
shit heel
Ron,
guy,
Ron
yeah.
Livingston.
Yeah, so I mean they're all individually great. Zach Galifianakis is kind of unwatchable,
Yeah.
but he's
Yeah.
the only one out of everybody.
Yeah, he's real bad.
My Dinner with Andre, I really do think that Andre Gregory is one of the best performances I've seen, one of the most difficult performances I've seen to pull off. I know that's not a common opinion, but it's just amazing to me. So I got to give it to My Dinner with Andre.
We have a tie.
Shit.
Do we do a tiebreaker?
As we all expected,
I think we
My
really
Dinner
need
with
to.
Andre and Dinner for Schmucks, a tie of films. An absolute tie among films. Just leave it there. That makes you more comfortable, right?
We've had ties before.
What's the best wild card question off the cuff? Which movie would you rather see made into a taxidermy mouse maquette?
Oh God.
Oh, My Dinner with Andre. That's that the maquette's already there. It's them at the it's the two mice at the table. One's
Yeah,
wearing
it's too
this.
easy.
One's wearing this
but
sweater.
I think you're misinterpreting the fact that in the Dinner for Schmucks maquette, there's a bunch of strange mice around a table, and there's one mouse on top of another table with a bunch of small maquettes
Yeah,
that
that's
have
tiny
like,
mice.
like
It's
little
mouseception.
that have like
Yeah.
maybe like little cockroaches or something, like what a mouse would view as mice.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, like,
that is better.
That's pretty cute. Whereas
it-
the maquette for My Dinner with Andre would be fairly
Basic.
pretty basic. Whereas again, quite inventive for Dinner for Schmucks.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I'm with that one. Dinner for Schmucks. That's way more. You're sold me, dude.
So the Citizen Kane of the week.
Well, no, we haven't got
No.
answers.
No.
is no, it's probably a tie, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to break that. I would say Mike is the guest you can pick, but you're gonna pick.
Yeah, so you don't have
It
to
is-
say that.
No,
Oh, sorry. We have to objectively say here, My Dinner with Andre is a better movie
Yes.
than Dinner for Schmucks.
I would say that because Dinner for Schmucks made me angry at the movie.
I have never been so physically uncomfortable.
yeah.
It was a really hard watch.
Yeah.
And you said at one point, Sean, I think it was like looking into the abyss.
Yeah.
It really, really felt that way.
It
was-
hurts so bad.
So bad.
And it hurts bad too because you are like, it pulls you back in with moments where you laugh and you go, but that was really funny. And then the
great.
next moment you're like, oh my God, fuck.
Yeah.
No, Dinner with Andre is a much better viewing experience that I would encourage you to have. For better or for worse, honestly, even if you're a Daniel and you're like, worse.
It's a better movie because Dinner for Schmucks is such a bad movie.
Yeah.
It also sparks conversation. My Dinner with Andre leaves a lasting impression.
See, this is my thing. Like I was saying before, nothing save for maybe the one or two like sound bites that you mentioned while we were on a break. Nothing that was said in that movie is really groundbreaking for me. So it's not leaving this lasting
Right.
impression. Had I heard it in '81 as a wholly original concept, then sure.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my experience today.
And actually, you know what? Maybe I do need to rescind this comment, and it is a tie. Because let me put it this way, because even you said this movie slaps as a podcast.
Yeah.
And we are reviewing movies. And kind of, to be frank, My Dinner with Andre is a bad movie.
Thank you.
It is not a good movie. It is a great lecture with a bit of audience
TED Talk.
participation. It's a TED Talk.
Yeah.
But as a movie, it's not fantastic. The lecturing in it is fantastic. And they're
The ideas are good.
the
but
ideas are wonderful,
but
and
as
they're
a-
communicated to us even well. But as a movie,
I see
don't
what you're
know.
saying. The one challenge I'd have to that is I think part of its point is doing that which movies don't do. Usually, like part of the point is you're coming to see a movie and you're going to have a totally different experience than one would usually, right? It sort of mirrors the content in terms of breaking your comfort zone and like connecting to interpersonal relationships instead of.
But like in a bit
Sure.
of a weird turn back on yourself version where like movies did the same thing with theater. Where they were like, we don't just want to talk about it. We want to show you things and for you to find this in yourself. Like we watched Requiem for a Dream, the last podcast, and it was like a movie where it's so much about you visually intaking the information and feeling what they're feeling. And this movie is like no, that stuff's dumb. Let's go away from that and actually just do a lecture play.
Yeah, we'll do a
Yeah,
play on
know,
that's a
screen.
good point. I see what you're saying. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's a new point. Their new point of view is the old point of view in terms of medias.
Very
it's-
interesting.
it's-
We
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a
yeah.
tie. Do we applaud for the tie?
I don't know. One single clap for a tie.
should we-
One,
I'm gonna
2,
snap.
3. That's it. That's all for a tie.
So someone listening was like, "Fuck! Ow, Jesus Christ!"
There's no real applause.
Okay, so then here's my question.
Yeah. Who do we versus?
Do we
You said
versus
we were
both
gonna
of
bring this
them?
back.
I think it's important.
yeah.
I think it's
How does
Okay.
each of them win?
That's a great
Let's make this
question.
podcast 2 hours. Okay, so
Okay.
I don't care.
but like let's make it short and sweet if we can. So let's talk about Schmucks first.
Sure.
Movie, as what we kind of agree is the worst movie. It's a bad movie, but anyway.
I don't know, like, because the problem is that the story itself is inherently problematic and offensive. Like the core premise of the story is the problem. So I don't know that you change the movie to make it better and that it ends up being the same movie.
I think you just watched the French original one probably, and it's like, and it's the movie
That's
we
not
want.
the exercise, Sean.
I know, but like, I think they made it. I think
So-
they made it already.
Here's my question: does it change it at all if Steve Carell character isn't neurodivergent and instead is just some other kind of,
Just a loser.
I don't know,
A
maybe
a loser might be better. I think the movie needs to be a bit less like insecure and feeling that it needs to do like typical movie like weird tropes
Yeah.
of like, and then he messes up their dinner, like the brunch, like how much they push it. They just push it too far.
Yep.
If it was just that like this person really sincerely fucks things up and has bad luck in a way that like a really uptight business person wouldn't get along with, I think there's a movie there. Like, isn't there a movie with like Robert Downey Jr. and someone that's and like Melissa McCarthy that's about that? Like, it's,
I think you're talking about Due Date.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
Due Date.
Zach Galifianakis.
Oh, so Zach
It's pretty
Galifianakis.
fun. That movie. I saw
That
it in
movie is
theaters.
pretty
It seemed
fun.
like a similar premise where it's
Yeah.
like uptight business person
Right.
meets really loosey goosey and sort of like flippant, but there's something they can learn from each other kind of trope,
Yeah.
an odd couple ish thing that this movie could do well. And I think it could do well because the cast I think was really lots of
Cast was
talented
great.
people. Octavia Spencer.
But then is the dinner still there? Is it still a dinner about a group of people who have found these?
Yeah, I think we need
Types
the
of
dinner.
people.
I think the dinner's crucial.
It needs to be sooner and it needs to be bigger. Like actually, if you're gonna movies, dinner
Yeah.
for schmucks, but like it's about like losers.
It has to be
Bring a
courses.
real loser.
I mean,
here.
to steal from the menu, it should be broken down over the courses that are held during the dinner, kind of thing.
So the whole movie should be the dinner, like second
an
act.
act of
well,
it.
on,
yeah,
yeah.
The second and third act or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I just thinking aloud, like you could go in the direction where you don't make Paul Rudd redeemable at all, and
Yes.
he's just a bastard.
Yeah, you should be a piece of shit.
And at the same time, you don't make Steve Carell the butt of the jokes. You don't make because that was half the humor was look at these crazy people acting crazy. It's like that's a terrible
Well,
setup.
I
You can't
thi-
make them the butt of any jokes.
I think the point is, by bringing these losers to dinner, we reveal who the actual losers are, and it should be the Paul Rudd character.
Correct.
And we sort of
We
get that a
sorta-
little bit, but it's yucked and it's not taken very seriously. And then his house burns down, and a vulture eats a finger, and you're like,
Right.
okay,
You know what I think of a bit? Have you seen the movie The Apartment from 1960 with Jack Lemmon?
ages ago. But
Anyway,
yeah.
it's great, but the premise is to get ahead in this corporate environment, he loans out his apartment to his bosses to have affairs.
Okay.
So it's sort of about the sexist capitalist culture and how he'll compromise himself to try to get ahead. And that's sort of, I think, the way this movie could go. But that movie doesn't mock women for being abused,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I feel like
Yeah.
you could model it more after
You're
that
right.
kind of a
It
movie.
should critique heavier the corporate structures that are the inherent motivator of the action of the film. Yeah.
this movie might actually do better if a lot of the genders were swapped and it was like a Mean Girl film. And like a statement
Yay.
like that almost.
Where they're bring your douchiest guy that you pick up at the club or whatever to That's a fun Ocean's 8, I guess. I don't know.
You know, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what would make this movie kind of interesting and
Yeah.
like kind of relevant?
Different.
Because there's just nothing that in 10 years later can you watch this movie and be like, what the fuck were they thinking? Like, how much cocaine was everyone doing?
Not enough. I think
not enough.
I think not enough cocaine was happening.
Yeah.
A lot of oxy.
Yeah, a
It was an
lot of
oxy
oxy.
movie.
It's an oxy movie. MDMA. Whereas My Dinner with Andre, better production, I think, is essentially what's going to lift it up to the champion position, right?
For me, yes, better production
Yeah.
and better actors.
Phew.
I would change the cast. Sorry, but it's true. Or you know what it is? Here's what I would do.
Right.
I would not film it in a way that Andre's character has to speak in massive monologues.
Right.
I would film it in a way that allows him to cut it up, so that the focus becomes less on I am doing the stage version of this speech,
Right.
and more on I can do multiple takes of this one chunk and give it some variety, and then edit it more cleanly so that it cuts together, but in a more interesting way. Because when you limit it to I'm going to sit on this person for 20 minutes, then you're also limiting the spectrum of possibilities for that performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's fair.
I wouldn't change the actors. I would, if I actually, this one feels really clear of what to do with this movie to make it like a real strong movie in the way that we watch movies, which again, this movie is tricky. This movie needs a longer intro with Wallace Shawn, I think, because I would cut the first 3 speeches of Andre can be cut, in my opinion, or at least shortened or blended or something, and they can be cut. I would rather that we get more of Wallace Shawn. Like, I want to see him at work. I want to see him interact a bit more. Like, I want to see his life so that there's a context to what the conversations we're going to have
Right,
later.
where you see him writing his 5th draft of a script and sending it off, and like getting a rejection letter from his editor or whatever, or from whoever sent it to, and like
and have it narrate it or whatever.
his
And a bit
wife
of
coming
it-
home exhausted at the end of a like triple shift at the diner that she's working at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think they can this movie could do with like really smart cutaways during some of the speeches to maybe Wallace Shawn in his life, to Andre in his life, or something.
I kind of wanted to see these exercises he was doing with Grotowski in the woods and with these groups that he was traveling to. I kind of wanted to see bits of that, you know?
Or the opposite. Or Wallace Shawn standing in a busy train station where no one looks at each other, interacts. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't have to be super on the nose with it, but at least give us those images so that when we hear the words later, and then even have him go home and don't let it be Wallace Shawn's voiceover, let it be the speech of Andre continuing past the dinner at this idea of like these thoughts ruminate. Like, I just think there are bolder choices you could make that don't have to be, this movie's already pretentious as fuck. So like you could actually like help us and make us think during the movie and not make us think after. Like
I was thinking during the movie.
Yeah, well, I was sort of, but also if you think too much, like Mike said, and you leave the movie for a minute, you're like, oh wait, what would you just say? Because it's so much. So I don't know. I definitely more context at the beginning. 100% cut some of those speeches and give us some other visuals to like that you want us to relate to what the speech is.
It's also a movie that it definitely clearly worked in 81 because attention is a different thing in 1981 than someone giving their attention is now.
Sure.
It's like we are a completely different species when it comes to attention now than we were 40 years ago.
I agree to an extent, but I think that these long format podcasts that everyone's really into is an argument
this
against
one?
what you're saying. But it's true. I mean,
but no one pays attention to them. Like
I
you
don't
put on
think
a
it's
long
true.
form podcast and you pay attention to it, but like you're doing something else at the same time, right?
sure, but you're still listening. So, I mean,
But you're not sitting down and just like listening to this podcast.
I mean, I'm not, but some people might be. My point is that it has been demonstrated that people's attention for lengthy conversation is actually greater than we think. And I think
that's
that
a podlet.
What's that?
That's a podlet.
Attention.
Attention.
Anyway, but
Sure,
go on, Dan, go on.
short attention spans are absolutely a problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But when it comes to content like this, when it comes to someone listening to interesting original ideas, there's clearly a large demographic of people who are into that sort of thing.
Sure. Yep.
I think this movie works today with different concepts.
Sure.
Because that structure, I think, is fine. I think if it's just two people talking and one person saying a bunch of really cool, original, mind-blowing, revolutionary shit, people will be into it. It's just, it doesn't work today because nothing that we're hearing is new. Today.
I would rather a weird art piece where we never see Andre, and it's just Wallace
Waiting for
shots of
Andre?
Wallace Shawn walking through the park and thinking about feeding pigeons and then not, and then and writing for 7 minutes, but not being sitting there but never writing, but he's supposed to be writing. I would rather just that, and it's just the voiceover of this conversation and the dinner happened. I just think do something with it. And I know you're saying the whole point is that they don't do something with it, but fuck that. I just I don't know. To me,
I think we have to be careful with our our definition of movie though, because Dinner for Schmucks is definitely a movie in the Western tradition as we understand it, but movie doesn't mean the same thing to everyone, and I think Dinner with Andre is outside of that definition.
Yeah, they have a different, deliberately different ethic or aesthetic, I guess. Like a manifesto. This is how we want movies to be. Yeah. So they make them like that. Yeah.
Not to rehash that argument.
No. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's I see what you're saying, and I'd love to see all these versions of this movie. At the same time, I just like this movie. So I'd be sad if they totally replaced it. You know what I mean?
Change it.
Definitely don't totally replace it. Yeah.
Sorry if I'm not playing along. But no, I do think all those ideas would be really interesting. And I do agree. It's that opening voiceover of Wallace Shawn's. You're well, they could just show him doing those things, right? What it's like to be a playwright. And you hear so much about, what's his girlfriend's name? Wendy
Debbie.
Or Debbie? Yeah, I kind of want to see Debbie, and see their dynamic.
Yeah, she's exhausted. At the end of the night, she comes home and he hasn't made any money, and she's been working double shifts for the last 3 days at the diner, and she's like, hey, man, we need some money.
Yeah,
Can you
go work.
Yeah.
That's the Wallace Shawn approach. Anyway, but no. So I agree with you. I mean,
even if the movie was the exact same movie, but they added 10 minutes at the beginning to show that, and then a little extra scene at the end to show how he was changed in a bit more thorough way, him returning to his apartment or whatever.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, just something. Give us something. Don't just tell us.
Show, don't tell.
Tell, don't show.
Don't show.
The greatest movie of the 80s approach.
Tell, don't show.
Apparently the greatest movie of all time.
One of the highest regarded films, yes.
I can't wrap my head around that.
Is it in the what is it, the American list of top 100 American movies? Or is it
I don't know for sure. I would assume it is. If Ebert and Siskel or
with Hobbs and Shaw, don't worry, Dan.
I just can't wait for the Hollywood reboot of My Dinner with Andre.
Starring Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Who's
My Dinner with Miley.
And Leslie Jones.
Who's
my
now?
Recast, Daniel? I'm curious.
Leslie Jones and Octavia Spencer.
That's what Hollywood would recast. I don't know. I don't know who I'd recast because
and Octavia's Wallace Shawn's character, and Leslie Jones is Andre.
Ooh, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Because again, I don't think Wallace Shawn did a very good job. And I think that but I think I think I solved the problem.
I just can't disagree harder.
That's fine. I think that I solved my own
stuff that
problem
I kind of agree.
with the suggestion of shooting it differently because I don't think that Andre Gregory is a bad actor. I think there's a reason why movies are shot the way that they're shot. It's not a play. It's a fucking tough job to just do 4 monologues or 30 minutes of speaking in one take and have it all be different and interesting. That's tough. So I think you change the way you shoot it, and you don't need to recast it. If I were to recast it, Morgan Freeman is Andre.
Shit, sure, yeah. The classic narrator.
Is he saying the same words that Andre is? Because I have a hard time believing Morgan Freeman was invited to Jerzy Grotowski's experimental theater hideout in the Polish woods.
Well,
so it needs to be an older white guy then. Is
I mean,
Older white guy.
And when
I'm
you
not
say
saying that.
Morgan Freeman, do you mean Nelson Mandela?
Oh my god.
As
that's
dinner for
another
Schmucks.
that's
Would
another
love
fun
to
dinner
have
for
you
Schmucks
laugh at.
thing. Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
then the other person is
Wallace Shawn would
Michael B.
be
Jordan.
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci would
it's a-
actually be fucking great.
Maybe
in this
maybe
movie.
it's a Pesci and a De Niro movie.
It's a Pesci.
Pacino?
It's a Pesci
and
and
old Pacino.
Old
Yeah,
Pacino.
old Pacino.
No, and it's like Miles Teller. It's
Yeah,
someone that
Pesci
when you,
and Teller.
It's when you look at them, you're like,
Ooh.
"What? This guy doesn't fucking know anything." Like
Yeah.
Miles Teller,
Ah, yeah,
and
okay.
it's Pesci being like, "You don't know anything," and we're like, "Totally."
Yeah.
Why agree with this image?
You're right. You're so right.
This visual, whereas Wallace Shawn looks like someone who knows things.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
Like someone, give us that movie. I would,
That's
Pesci
really-
now and Miles Teller now.
Pesci is Wallace Shawn's character.
No, is Andre.
Is Andre? Yeah.
And Miles Teller. And he's like, but I like going out with my friends.
He's like, shut up, you
Pesci's
fucking
like-
stupid idiot.
Listen to me when I talk to you.
Because I mean, I was at this fucking concentration camp. Yeah?
Man, I saw some clips of The Irishman recently, and holy fuck, that was a bad movie. I
Oh,
forgot
man.
how shitty that movie
I
looked.
enjoyed it.
Oh,
But,
no.
It was 9 hours.
So-
and I haven't
so-
seen it since it came out.
So you just love like the really quiet, slow burn, minimal story type of thing, right?
I'll
Because
say-
didn't you also love Phantom Thread?
I did love it.
Yeah. So there's a type for you.
I do like that kind of movie for sure. I'm like a big Ingmar Bergman fan, so I like all of those like slow
Yeah.
kind. But you know what? Irishman, I liked. I didn't love, but I liked it.
Sure. I the clip I saw was De Niro as a like 35-year-old man in heavy quotations, bringing his daughter to the butcher who like slighted her or something to beat him up, and just the old man fight that happens, even though he's supposed to be like a young man.
It is so insane. Like you can
Yeah.
put as much like CGI de-aging on someone's face as you want, but
Yeah.
nothing changes the way an old body moves. Like
Yeah.
no getting around it.
It's like the Bob Barker fight. in Happy Gilmore.
It is
movie.
that.
It really is.
It is exactly that.
He's like, he just died, right? Barker? He's
He died a while
Oh,
ago.
no, did he?
I have no
He
idea.
might still be
I
alive.
take it back. He was great. He was a great fighter.
The more
Barker.
cats and dogs you spay and neuter, the longer you live.
Yeah, that's his.
So-
It's because he takes their testes and drinks them for his.
Yeah, he
vitality.
puts it in a puree, and yeah.
That's
All
why
right.
Drew Carey looks so svelte. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say.
Price is Right.
On that note, I
Yeah.
think I was gonna say let's fucking sign off.
Well, what are our next movies? We didn't decide beforehand.
we didn't
Whoopsies.
decide.
Oh yeah, what are
I
our
mean,
next movies?
Who cares? Let's do fucking the Halle Berry week. Let's do it. We've been
Sure.
talking about it.
Monsters Ball versus Catwoman.
Yeah.
Oh, Catwoman's a banger. You're gonna, you're gonna love it.
But the Oscar versus the Razzie.
Yeah, same
Same
year.
year.
Same
Let's
year.
do it.
Oscar
We've been talking
Razzie.
That
about
was
it.
the same year.
Same year.
I've
bud.
never seen either two, which is fun.
Yeah, me
This
neither.
is a pairing where I've never
I
seen
may,
either.
I may have seen both, but remember neither.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's do Halle Berry week.
Halle Berry week.
Oscar
Sick.
versus the Razzie. Let's do it. And to sign off this week, everyone just tell your best pretentious story where you had a spiritual awakening in a foreign land.
All at the same time.
At the same time. 3, 2, 1, go.
So I was
one
making
time
my
when
way
I
through
first
the jungles of
saw
Rwanda.
the delivering
I
baby
came across
elephants by
a
hand.
grave.
Entire army of
I
them.
was suddenly
An
brought
army
to
of
the
elephants.
full
Bigger than
realization
an
that my
elephant
death
for me.
was
Believe me,
closer
it
to
is
than I
majestic.
knew
From
it was.
I had to climb inside.
I saw
one of the elephants.
graphically sobbed, and a
Inside-
local
full
villager
body
came up
inside the
and
elephant
cupped me by the testicles
to
and
drag
brought
this
me
baby elephant out.
brought me home
It,
in a way.
it changed my life.
Like
We're
some
all
mummies with
we're
earrings.
bacteria on the
Into
planet.
our ear.